Welcome to the Academy of Photography. If you shoot only black and white, that doesn't necessarily make you an artist. I'm Christian Tudor, and today I would like to talk about one of my favorite lenses, which is 100mm f2.8 Macro. I'm just going to do a quick review and I'm going to show you why I have purchased it, and I would like to talk about the essence and the best way to use it. This is obviously a macro lens, so its main purpose is to shoot very close objects and very small with a very narrow depth of field. Now, the reason I have purchased this lens was actually I was in the market for something that should give me the depth of field. Obviously, depth of field is always impressive, of course with some limitations, and I was actually looking after an 85mm 1.2. I have seen a lot of portraits from other photographers with a very interesting portraiture effect when you actually see the portrait and only the eyes are in focus. I could not achieve that with my normal lenses, and I thought I'm gonna look for an 85 1.2. I was lucky to have a big photographic exhibitions, and Canon was there and they displayed all the lenses, and I was happy to go there and quickly test all their lenses. Another reason that I wanted a very shallow depth of field was actually the ring shot. As a wedding photographer, I've seen a lot of other people doing the ring shots, and I will always question how do you actually make the ring to fill the picture and have a very shallow depth of field. My first initial thoughts, as I mentioned before, was the 1.2 fixed lens, but testing that and testing this lens made me decide that this is the right way to go. Obviously, the 1.2 aperture lenses will serve their purpose. They will be very good lenses for other purposes rather than macro. So after several tests, I was actually happy to purchase the 100mm Macro 2.8. In terms of lenses, I believe this is quite affordable. It's not a very cheap lens, it's above $1,000. Obviously, prices are varying depending on the country and depending on where you buy them from. Now, in terms of quality, it feels very good in your hand. It's not a very heavy, but it's not a very light lens, and as you can imagine, as any professional L series lens, you can actually feel the quality. I'm not gonna go through the nitty-gritty of the technical aspects, how many lenses are inside. I just want to say it's an ultrasonic motor. It does focus between 30 centimeters if you're counting in meters, or 0.9 feet. 30 centimeters is measured from the object to actually the sensor of the camera. So it goes to the whole range to the infinity. A very good and useful feature is actually the stabilization, and let me tell you, if you're shooting this handheld, it's definitely worth the effort going for the image stabilizer and switch it on, and if you're shooting from a tripod, definitely switch it off. As a normal lens, you would probably get used to the automatic focus and the manual focus, and also this button will help you actually limit the range of the focus. If you're shooting on full, you should set it up on full. If you shoot something from more than half a meter away, and you would probably want to go gradually, and if you want to go really close, you have to use this. This will be very helpful because it's going to help you focus faster. Now, if you go on the full, probably you're going to get some difficulties focusing below half a meter, but definitely it will go through the whole range, even in full. So if I want to go really close, I will switch it on between 0.3 meters and 0.5 meters, and I will actually try to focus. Sometimes it's actually worthwhile focusing manually because it's going to be faster. Just for today's exercise, I am using a normal scale ruler, my wedding ring, so I can show you where we get, and I actually have a little spoon with some sugar in it. I just wanted to show you how close and how far away we can actually get. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna test it, I'm gonna show you the results, and I'm gonna make a few comments about it. So I'm gonna set my camera on aperture priority because I just wanna fix only the aperture. Obviously, the larger the aperture, the more shallow depth of field, and for this macro, this is the whole point of it. So I'm gonna set up on aperture priority, and I'm just gonna try to shoot, and I will actually be able to measure the depth of field by just shooting this scale. I'm gonna shoot handheld, So I'm gonna switch on the image stabilizer, autofocus, and I'm gonna limit my range to 30 centimeters. So I will go as close as I can, and I'm gonna focus on the scale. So there will be few areas that I can't actually focus. Because I am actually photographing the scale, I can measure the depth of field visually. This scale is a metric scale, so it's in centimeters, and I'm gonna show you a interesting fact. So I'm just gonna pinpoint on one, and I can see definitely my depth of field. I can count in focus 2 lines. That means 2 millimeters depth of field. Very interesting, isn't it? Now, to give you a very good idea about the scale, this camera still has some limitations, so if you believe you're going to shoot the eye of a fly, probably it's not going to work. So the closest you can get, as mentioned before, is probably 30 centimeters. So if this scale is a 30 centimeter scale, I'm going to measure it from the sensor to this point. Probably very closer to this, I'm not going to be able to focus, so it's become useless. Now, getting as close to this one, I can definitely feel the image with the ring, 1 centimeters, 2 centimeters, and something about this scale. If you want to go smaller than that, probably you need to think about a different macro lens. So if you want to go for the flies or for anything like that, just do your research. Probably a larger focal distance will help you. So just shooting with this, I am going to fill in the whole picture with the ring, and that will work. And I'm going to test a shot, and I'm going to focus on the back of the ring. Obviously it needs a little bit of manual touching. Just to prove the point that you can't really go smaller than about 1 centimeter if you want to photograph an object, I will try to get as close as possible to a spoon with sugar. So how small is the sugar? Probably less than 1 millimeter for every drop of sugar. And I'll try to take a shot, and I'll show you the result. That's probably about it, as small as we can get. So if you're thinking about actually photographing an individual sugar cube, you need to think again, because this lens is not going to help you. The depth of field dimension will vary depending also on the distance from the camera to the subject. So probably if I'm getting my scale ruler a little bit further away from the camera, I will try to do the same exercise. I won't be able to achieve the same depth of field. Remember, I'm on 2.8 aperture, and that means the most shallow depth of field for this setting. So now if I'm looking at it, I could probably say that my depth of field is about 2 centimeters. So I can see 2 lines. So in this image, actually I'm going to focus on the number 10, and I can see focus starting with a 9, line number 9 to line 11. So probably about 2 centimeters. Obviously, if I move the scale even further, the depth of field is going to be even deeper. Now, that comes with another very interesting use for this lens, which is basically a portrait. In my experience, I have shot a lot of portraits with this lens. It's absolutely outstanding. So if you don't have a telephoto lens, like a zoom telephoto lens, this one will do the job just fine. I'm just going to quickly use my dummy head. I hope you already got used to it. I'm just going to put it here, and I'm just going to test a shot as a portrait, with my limitation of space, obviously, but I want to show you the depth of field and the focus on the dummy's eyes. I'm just going to arrange them a little bit better so I can focus on the eyes, and we need to see how much blur we're going to get at the back. It's in aperture mode, obviously. I'm not going to worry about anything else. A very beautiful portrait. Obviously, if you want to get more focus, you decrease the aperture, but this is not the subject of this tutorial. So in conclusion, if you want to really go on a narrow depth of field with objects about 1 centimeter and more, this is a very good lens for you. If you want to focus on individual objects which are smaller than probably 10 millimeters, so if we are getting close to grain sizes, as in 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, probably you're gonna need a different lens. However, this serves perfectly the purpose. I have purchased this lens just for the ring shots and for special effects, but let me tell you, it also gives outstanding portraits. You can jump on the Academy of Photography website. I'm gonna leave more information and the sample shots there. You can have a look, and you can also get some indicative prices and where you can buy them from. And I hope you enjoy this. Until I see you next time, I wish you happy shooting. Thank you very much.